Hey everybody, Ed McDonough here, and welcome to Live Stream Wednesday, coming to you from Walpole, Massachusetts, and streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on livestreamwednesday.com. So today I'm really excited. We have an amazing show because we're going to talk about branding with design expert, Katie. I'm sorry, Carrie Coren. Man, I'm messing this up. Carrie is a graduate of Rhode Island College, and for the last 10 years, she's honed her craft working with Rhode Island ad agencies and businesses to help them engage and target the right customers. So, Carrie, it's a delight to have you on the show here today. Sorry, I messed all that up, but that's the cool part of live streaming and doing things live is people get to see the real you, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate that because now the pressure's off me because you already messed up.
There you go. It's awesome. So listen, let's just jump right in here and tell us, what is branding and why is it so important to a small business? Well, to any business, but I think a lot of our audience here today are kind of smaller type businesses. So why is it so important and what is it?
Okay, branding is basically how you identify yourself to your public, both with your logo. I think people are pretty comfortable with that term logo. But to me, the logo is only the symbol. And then the other very important part of your brand is your tagline. Again, to me, and perhaps not all graphic designers have the same approach, the tagline is your promise to your customers. And so what's more important than that? The logo is the shape that people will identify. They'll see it on your trucks, on, maybe you do a sponsorship at an arena and your logo's on the side with your tagline. But actually branding goes even further than that. It's who you are. It's how you talk to your customers. It's your style, more or less, like your personality. You can clearly see it on television, the different personalities of the commercials and clearly who they're talking to.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit more about tagline. Like, what is a tagline, and what's the purpose of having one?
As I said, I think the tagline is so important because the tagline is your promise. This is what you promise. If someone chooses to use you over competition, over another, electrical company, you're promising them, this is how I'm going to deliver for you. This is the problem I'm going to solve. People have problems and needs. They're sometimes just emotionally driven by what they see and respond to in advertising and marketing. And so you need to kind of zing in there and tell them it's going to be okay. Because, for example, like with my logo, my tagline is see the big picture. So it's a double play on the C, because on my tagline, it's the C, the big picture, not S-E-E. I'm promising my customers that their audience will not only visually see it, but they'll get the picture. It's kind of combining that, get the picture and I see the picture. So right. That's my promise, is that their audience will be engaged with their design.
Right.
Because design, people use the word marketing. Design is part of marketing. It's the visual that humans are very, very drawn to. They have a much higher level of maintaining the message if there is an appropriate visual to go with it. But I kind of woke up this morning thinking of marketing as like a car. And the car, sometimes it's parked in your driveway, and that might be a print piece that isn't on TV or isn't on a billboard. But the car has kind of bells and whistles. And of course, nowadays, marketing has really expanded. And, you know, the dashboard navigation might be like a video, you know, the electronics, the digital. But I think it's so important to realize, what does the car always have? They have their logo, they have their insignia. So no matter where the car is going and the bells and whistles, it has the logo on the front and the back, and people identify it immediately. You know, they have an opinion about that car, depending on what the insignia is on that car. But I think that, especially for small businesses, it's overwhelming now. It's overwhelming. Who do I use? Does a graphic designer, will they also do my video for my website? Will they, you know, do an ad for TV if you're lucky enough to have the budget for that? Because I am really focused on small businesses who very often they don't have that kind of a budget. So that's another thing that I think that can be confusing. A graphic designer, me, I'm focused on establishing your image and teaching you consistency. That, you know, I love to guide people as to how, because many of them are going to then take that logo and try to use it themselves, maybe create some pieces because they don't have the budget. So I want to guide them about the importance of the consistency of how they use their logo, tagline, and other things. That I personally provide other things to my clients. When I do a brand, for example, I'll provide some banner art that matches their brand, but they can use that in a template, or I'll do the template for them in Word, you know, depending what kind of business it is.
That's really cool. And so one of the things that I want to point out is, I think it's very important. You said the consistency of it, right? So, you know, being a marketing guy, I've dealt with a lot of companies over the past 12 years, and I've actually seen where, you know, you go to the company's website, and there's their logo and maybe their tagline, and then you go to their Facebook business page, and it's like a different logo and a different tagline, right? It's not consistent at all. You know, talk to us about how important that is to, you know, to always be appearing in the same way, no matter what the medium is.
Right. Now, Facebook, if you have a business page, you've got a square. You've got to fit your logo in a square. Well, I'm not going to design every logo to fit in a square on Facebook. But what I do is I will give my client a format that will work in that square. Maybe it means we're just focusing on the logo, remember, like the symbol.
Right.
You'll kill me if you take the logo and you squish it to fit in that square. That'll be the end of me.
Yeah.
But like you know, and this kind of leads me into why you should work with someone one-on-one. I know there are very affordable online choices for make a logo, all right? But the logo is just one part of it. As I said, do they really understand your target audience? I should probably go on there and see, you know, I don't want to go on there and see those cheapy logo choices. But the reason I always tell people, it's not in your best interest for the long term to use an online source. Is you're not establishing a relationship with a graphic designer who can advise you as to, well, you're going to need, you know, you're going to need this format for your uniforms, or you're going to need that format for your LinkedIn page. And I've seen people that came to me after the fact with a logo, and it was a lot of work for us to create all the formats that everybody needs now. I think most businesses at least would have a Facebook business page, or maybe a LinkedIn page, depending, every social media platform has a different audience. But that's something people don't know what they don't know. And how would they? If you're building a house for the first time, you don't know that you needed this permit. And so I pride myself on helping people to avoid those pitfalls, so that they can, especially if it's a new business, they've got so much to do. They don't want to have to come back to me multiple times. Oh, now I need this format because the screen printing person needs it, etc. Another thing that I know with my clients, they're so busy running their business that if they want to do a sponsorship ad or a presentation, most of my clients see the value in allowing me to do their presentations, when realistically they could get in there in Word or in a Google Doc and put the text in, but they know it just looks better and it's consistent, and I don't have to take, 5-10 hours. I don't want to do that. I'm busy running my business. So, I'm a resource for them, but it's usually the day before, and I'm okay with that. I don't think a lot of the online resources would give you that option of turning it around really quickly and correctly, because I do know their business, and I really care about their business too.
Right.
So, those are some of the reasons that I really encourage people. If you're looking for someone to do your branding or your marketing, and when I say that, I'm talking about printed things, which print is not dead. I know there's a big world of multimedia and video, but it always has to be combined with print. Leave behind pieces. As a matter of fact, I was looking on LinkedIn because I just wanted to get an idea. I was researching the competition for a client, and every single post was a video, because video is king right now. But I actually thought, I'm kind of liking the break when I get to a post that isn't video. It gives me a visual break to pause for a second. So that's just something to think about too. If you're doing marketing, and I don't have all the answers about marketing. I'm on the design side, but I would recommend, just like with your Facebook posts, you've got to mix it up, because that's what people need. They need a lot of variety.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing people don't realize too is that, in particular on LinkedIn, is there's a whole section on LinkedIn called LinkedIn Docs, where you can actually upload, a PDF, like one sheet that you would create, so that you might not be sending that, getting that printed out and sending it through snail mail or as a leave behind, because nobody's having in-person appointments right now with COVID. But you could certainly take that and upload it as a document and point people to it, to say, go grab this document. Or you could email that to them after, you did a one-on-one Zoom with them, a sales call or something, so the leave behind may be digital, but it still needs to be, formatted in a way that's easy for them to print it out on their end, as well as you want to make sure that the branding is consistent with all the other things you're doing.
Right.
Correct? Yep.
Yeah.
And so other than, maybe using an online service, what are some other mistakes that you've seen companies make with their branding and their taglines?
Well, I think that some people, because how do you know who to use? They either go for the online option, or they spend way out of their budget for a large design firm or a large agency. Of course, they do fantastic work, but I used to work in those places, so for someone like me, and there are a lot of other graphic designers who are retired more or less. I'm not ready to retire, but they had their career in the corporate world or the design studio. And so now I can bring all of those lessons to my customers. Another thing is that I learned how to pull back with the design. It's message first, design second. You've got to get them in there with the right design and the right visual, and a piece people want to look at, but those are the lessons that I think for maybe some of the newbies in design, they haven't learned those lessons because you're designing and we love to design, but you've got to know when to pull back and keep the message focused on what the piece is about.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So are there any simple rules or guidelines to, branding and marketing and the stuff that you do?
Well, one of the tried and true rules in marketing is that you have to interact, or your brand has to interact with somebody 7 times before it sinks in. So this is why you'll see, a logo on a pen, or if you're lucky enough to have the budget, a logo in an arena. And actually, I want to point out the importance of those methods. It's just the logo. So that's how important your logo is. So you need to be prepared to keep getting your message out there. You've got all the obvious social media choices for repeating your message, and your specialty items, things like this, getting interviewed. You just have to keep doing it. It's never ending but some people, they absolutely love it. Some people are annoyed by that, and they just don't do it. But that's a mistake, because you have to keep getting your brand out there, your logo, your message. And so it takes 7 or 8 times for people to say, I've seen that logo, I need a plumber now. I'm going to call that person because it's just sticking in my head now.
Right. Yeah, that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
So what about companies that, or small businesses that maybe don't have the budget to, have their logo at an arena or put a billboard up or something like that? What can they do? What are some ways that they can get that logo out so that, people start associating the logo with them?
Well, if it's a community business, they could sponsor a local team. I know where I live, there are banners all over the sports field, people that have sponsored the teams. So if you're a local business, then those people going to the games will see your logo. And of course, Facebook, well, I know there's some changes going on that I'm not an expert in, but it technically doesn't cost anything to post on Facebook. Your website, that's a biggie. Having a website that's properly built and gives the information quickly when people come to the homepage, driving people to the website through a post on LinkedIn or Instagram. Of course, in Instagram, that's a whole different thing. And I create a lot of Instagram posts for clients because graphically, they just want it to be that instant connection of the colors and the tone, and even fonts. That's an important thing, that's what the text looks like. That's another thing that should be consistent. And so if I'm working with a customer and I know they have a desktop, a PC, Windows, I'm not going to expect them to use some crazy font that they then have to download. And because, they're not thinking about fonts when they're quickly throwing a piece together. So then the font's wrong, but all those little things affect how people perceive. We're very unaware of so many of the visual cues that our brain is seeing, and that's giving us that instant recognition that today you need, because you only have 3 seconds to grab somebody's attention. And so if it's not connecting with what they're looking for at the time, and that's another thing, it's timing sometimes. Just, I just saw that billboard, or, maybe a bus shelter, or I don't know, like a flyer that is handed out, depending on the business. Maybe, I don't know if it's still legal to put flyers on windshields, but I don't see it happening very often. So I guess it's not a popular thing to do, but you just have to be creative. And that's something that I love to help my customers with, is being creative. And that makes me remember something I wanted to mention. After pieces are designed, you have to get them produced. The print pieces, you have to get them printed, or maybe you need a trade show booth. Who do you use? I can give, I work with these people, so I know who is affordable and quick. It's always last minute, and I'm fine with that. Even in terms of videography, I don't do it, but I know videographers who I've worked with and I trust. So it takes something off your plate. So I guess that would make me not just a graphic designer, but almost like a coach of, help you get it done. Because I understand people, they don't know what they don't know.
Right. You have all the connections. So,
yeah.
So, if somebody's thinking about hiring a professional graphic designer, what are some things that they should look for or expect when they're going through that process?
Well, you should expect, or you should talk to them about how many options they should get when you actually do the design. I give my customers at least 3 design options. I start off the process by talking with them for at least an hour to 2 hours, because their business might be brand new to me. So I need to understand what makes them special so that we can feature that. That's how they're going to stand out. And it helps me to develop their tagline. That's something, even though I'm a designer, I have kind of a gift for writing taglines. And so, I can't do that without really understanding the business and what makes them special or better than the other choice. But so we'll start off with a couple of hours of conversation, and then you need to get a schedule from the graphic designer so that they're held accountable for, in 2 weeks, I'm going to come back with X amount of design options. And then they should expect, or at least have talked about in the proposal that you get from the graphic designer, what they can expect in terms of revisions, what's considered a normal amount of revisions, and what's too many revisions that you then might be charged for because you're up to 10 revisions. And I know for me that would be not in the realm of what I would offer for the initial cost. After that, they should be savvy enough, and they'll impress any graphic designer if they say, what formats are you going to give me? So if you are hiring a graphic designer and you have a little education about what you're going to need, they're going to provide it. Or if for some reason they don't typically provide that, you need to talk about that, because you're going to need those different formats. And then of course, any other guidance for, I call them branding branded graphics that you can use. Again, if you want to try to put something together yourself, and you want to have like, what's the border going to look like? What color, what are the Pantone colors? That's getting a little, advanced, but you need to know your colors so that maybe you're going to give it to the person doing your van. They're going to want to know the exact color so that you don't have that teal, but then over here it's like more of a seafoam green, and that it all comes back to the consistency that people need to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Carrie, we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes, but before we do, tell us what types of businesses you work with and the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to, have a consultation with you and talk about their branding.
Most of my clients are small businesses, 10 people or less, who do not have a marketing department, but they realize the value of working with someone who's going to, keep their image like they are a big business. That's the other thing. You might be a small business, but nobody has to know that. And it's how, it's just like how you dress. People judge. They make first impression, and so those are the kinds of businesses that I am looking for, and I tend to have my most success with because they're really happy to let me guide them. And we work together, but then after we get the ball rolling, they want to hear what my suggestions are.
Awesome. So I have your website up there. How should people get in touch with you? Do you want to give your phone number, email you? What do you prefer?
My email, which is on the website, is Carrie@carriecoren.com. So hopefully that's really easy, or else it might just have confused your mind. Carriecoren.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. So Carrie, thank you so much for being on the show today. Just hang out for a minute so we can talk afterwards. I'm just going to say goodbye to the folks. And again, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ed. It was a pleasure.
So thanks so much for watching today and tuning in. On next week's show, we have Speaking for Success founder Rich Austin, who helps people in many, many different ways. So please join me for that. Tune in. Before I go, would you like to be interviewed on Livestream Wednesday? Visit livestreamwednesday.com. Click the green Leave a Voicemail Here button and record and leave me a voice message, and someone from my team will get back to you within 2 business days. So that's it for today. Have a great week and see you next time right here on Livestream Wednesday.